Life will not always deal with you justly. That is one of the earliest realities you have to accept if you intend to become hard to break. You can do everything the right way and still come out losing. You can stay loyal to someone who ends up betraying you. You can put in more effort than anyone around you and still watch someone else walk away with the chance you wanted. You can treat people with respect and find out they will not extend the same back. You can speak the truth and still end up misunderstood. This is not always a sign that you did something wrong. Sometimes it is simply because existence does not follow the rules you wish it would. Most people are not broken by hardship itself. They are broken by the shock of realizing life owes them nothing in terms of fairness. They grow up assuming that good conduct guarantees good treatment. They assume kindness will always be repaid, loyalty will always be returned, and effort will always yield instant results. Then reality shows up. Someone lets them down. A chance vanishes. A relationship falls apart. A plan crumbles. And all at once they feel as though life itself has betrayed them. But if you want to become relentless in the way this world requires, not cold, not heartless, but mentally unshakable, you must become relentless with your illusions. Stop expecting others to act by your standards simply because you act by them. You might be truthful, but that does not guarantee everyone else will be. You might honor your word, but some people will break theirs. You might celebrate someone else's win while another person quietly wishes for your downfall. You might give someone a second chance while they use it to repeat the exact same behavior. Your task is not to grow bitter over this. Your task is to see it plainly. Clarity is strength. Once you stop demanding fairness from every person, disappointment loses some of its power to wreck you. You start observing behavior instead of excusing it. If someone keeps disrespecting you, you stop wondering why they can't grasp your feelings and start noticing the pattern instead. If someone continually takes without giving back, you stop calling the relationship even just because you want it to be. If a chance slips away, you stop spending months wondering why you deserved it and start asking what you should do next. This does not mean turning suspicious of everyone. That is not power. Cynicism is just another disguise for weakness, since it lets old experiences dictate future choices. Becoming relentless means staying open to good people while refusing to ignore bad patterns. You can extend trust without being naive. You can be kind without being an easy target. You can forgive without granting someone endless access to you. Think about rejection. Most people treat rejection as a judgment on who they are. Someone says no, and right away the mind starts spinning a story. I'm not attractive enough. I'm not accomplished enough. I'm not worthy. But rejection does not carry that much information. It only tells you that one person, one opportunity, or one situation did not line up with you. It can sting, but the sting does not make the conclusion accurate. The same holds true for failure. If something falls apart, look at it without turning it into a verdict on your entire character. Maybe your preparation was thin. Maybe your approach was off. Maybe your timing was bad. Maybe circumstances were beyond your control. Whatever the cause, pull the lesson out of it. A relentless mind never wastes pain. It examines it. This is also why you need to be careful with criticism. Some criticism holds real truth. Some criticism is just someone else's insecurity talking. If a person points out a genuine flaw you have, thank life for exposing it and get to work on it. If someone attacks you because your progress makes them uneasy, you don't have to treat their words as fact. Learn to sort useful information from emotional static and stop expecting everyone to understand the road you're walking. When you become more disciplined, some may label you extreme. When you set boundaries, someone may accuse you of turning into a different person. When you stop chasing approval, people who thrived on your need for it may grow uncomfortable. You don't owe anyone a return to your old self just because they liked you that way better. The world will challenge you through uncertainty, letdowns, rejection, failure, and abrupt change. You cannot dictate when these experiences arrive, but you can determine what meaning you attach to them. You can let them stand as proof that life is against you, or you can treat them as information that sharpens your judgment. There's a difference between saying the world is unfair, so nothing matters, and saying the world is unpredictable, so I will get myself ready. The first breeds helplessness. The second builds strength. You can't control whether someone respects you, but you can control the standards you hold. You can't control whether an opportunity comes, but you can control whether you're ready when it does. You can't control whether someone remains in your life, but you can control whether you abandon yourself trying to hold on to them. You cannot control every result, but you can control your response. That is where your power starts. Become relentless with the fantasy that everyone will treat you justly. See reality without resentment. Accept disappointment without giving up, and draw a lesson from every experience without letting it define you. Because the moment you stop demanding that the world shield you, you can finally start building the strength needed to shield yourself. And that fight begins with the weaknesses within you. Once you accept that the world will not always protect you, you're forced to face a tougher truth. Sometimes the one most responsible for keeping you weak is you. Not because you lack ability, but because you've learned to bargain with the very habits holding you back from becoming stronger. You tell yourself you'll begin tomorrow. You promise yourself, this is the last time you'll put up with disrespect. You know what has to be done, yet you keep making excuses because comfort is easier than change. This is where you must turn relentless toward your own weaknesses. Being relentless doesn't mean despising yourself. It means refusing to keep striking deals with the parts of you that repeatedly sabotage your future. If procrastination is wrecking your progress, you can't keep treating it as a harmless quirk. If fear keeps stopping you from taking necessary steps, you can't keep dressing up avoidance as caution. If people-pleasing keeps making you give up your own boundaries, you can't keep calling that kindness. You have to become brutally honest about the patterns shrinking your life. Most people want the payoff of discipline without enduring the discomfort discipline demands. They want confidence without confronting fear. They want respect without ever setting boundaries. They want success without letting go of the habits keeping them comfortable. They want a stronger future while still protecting the weaker version of themselves that built the present. You can't have it both ways. Every time you pick comfort over what you know needs doing, you reinforce the habit of avoidance. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you teach your own mind that your word carries no weight. And when you repeatedly disregard your own standards, your confidence starts to fade. Not because someone else stole it, but because you stop believing in yourself. Self-trust is earned through action. If you tell yourself you'll rise early and you keep ignoring the alarm, the issue isn't just the missed morning. You're teaching yourself that your own intentions are up for negotiation. If you decide to work out and constantly find reasons not to, you're reinforcing the idea that discomfort has more authority over you than your goals do. If you tell yourself you'll stop running after people who disrespect you, then go right back the moment they toss you a scrap of attention, you're teaching yourself that loneliness scares you more than humiliation does. At some point, the negotiating has to stop. You don't need to be flawless. You need to be steady. You will slip. You will have weak days. You will lose momentum. There will be moments you slide back into old habits. Being relentless means refusing to let one failure become who you are. You correct course and keep going. You don't spend weeks tearing yourself down over a single mistake. You learn from it, adjust, and move forward. Fear is another weakness that has to be handled with care. Fear serves you when it warns of genuine danger, but it turns destructive when it starts painting every uncomfortable moment as dangerous. Fear tells you to stay silent because you might be judged. It tells you not to start because you might fail. It tells you not to leave because you might end up alone. It tells you to stick with the familiar because uncertainty feels like a threat. If you listen to every one of those warnings, your world keeps shrinking. You have to learn to tell danger apart from discomfort. They are not the same. Discomfort often shows up while you're growing. Fear may surface before a major decision. Nervousness may surface before you take a chance. You don't have to erase those feelings before you act. You need to stop giving them automatic control. The same goes for the need for approval. If your choices constantly hinge on what others might think, you're handing invisible opinions the keys to your life. Someone may mock your goals. Someone may laugh at your ambition. Someone may not get why you changed. If your entire path shifts whenever another person disapproves, you don't really own your life. Become relentless about your need to be understood by everyone. You should still take in reasonable criticism. You should still be capable of admitting when you're wrong. But you shouldn't abandon your goals just because they make someone else uneasy. Your future can't be shaped by committee. Discipline also demands repeating ordinary actions again and again. Real strength is rarely forged in one dramatic moment. It is built through thousands of small choices nobody witnesses. Showing up to work when inspiration is missing. Practicing when progress crawls. Saving money when spending would feel better. Studying when entertainment is right there. Walking away from an argument when your ego wants to fire back. Saying no when saying yes would make someone else briefly happier. These moments may seem small, but they shape identity. Eventually, you become someone who understands that your emotions can speak without being obeyed. Your impulses can surface without turning into orders. Your fear can exist without steering your direction. Your comfort can tempt you without controlling you. That is the sort of relentlessness that makes a person hard to break. The world may still let you down. People may still betray you. Circumstances may still shift. But if you've built the discipline to govern yourself, outside chaos loses some of its grip on you. You no longer need ideal conditions to keep moving forward. Turn relentless against the habits that weaken you. Because the strongest person isn't the one who controls everyone around him, but the one who has mastered control of himself. And once you can govern your own weaknesses, you become ready to decide who earns access to your time, energy, trust, and life. There comes a moment when growing stronger stops being about what you can endure and starts being about what you're willing to stop putting up with. You can build discipline, master your emotions, and get honest about your weaknesses. But if you keep giving unlimited access to people who repeatedly drain you, manipulate you, disrespect you, or disturb your peace, you're still leaving the door open for the world to break you. Strength demands boundaries, and boundaries demand the courage to decide that not everyone deserves equal access to your life. Most people mix up kindness with unlimited availability. They believe being a good person means always picking up, always helping, always forgiving, always explaining, always giving another chance. But there's a difference between generosity and self-abandonment. You can care about people without letting them consume you. You can forgive someone without inviting the same behavior back into your life. You can understand someone's struggles without accepting their repeated disrespect. This is where relentlessness becomes essential. You must become relentless about who earns your attention. Attention is among the most valuable resources you have, because wherever your attention travels, your energy follows. If you spend hours arguing with someone who's only trying to provoke you, you've handed them control over your mind. If you're constantly checking on someone who makes you anxious, you've let their behavior take over your thoughts. If you keep explaining your boundaries to someone who already understands them and simply chooses to ignore them, you're burning energy trying to convince someone who profits from your weakness. Sometimes the strongest reply isn't another explanation, it's distance. A boundary isn't a threat, it's a decision about your own conduct. You don't need to announce, "You'd better respect me." You can simply decide how you'll act when disrespect shows up. If someone keeps speaking to you in a way we won't accept, you can end the conversation. If someone keeps exploiting your generosity, you can stop offering what they abuse. If someone keeps stirring up chaos in your life, you can limit their access to you. What matters is consistency. A boundary that only exists when you're angry isn't really a boundary. It's an emotional reaction. A genuine boundary stays in place when the emotion fades. You decide beforehand which behaviors you'll tolerate and which will cause you to pull back. Then you follow through without unnecessary theatrics. This is difficult because some people will test you the moment they sense you're changing. They may act surprised when you stop answering right away. They may accuse you of turning cold when you stop putting up with behavior you once tolerated. They may remind you of everything they've done for you. They may try to guilt you for protecting yourself. Don't confuse guilt with wrongdoing. Sometimes guilt simply signals you're doing something unfamiliar. If you've spent years trying to please everyone, saying no may feel selfish even when it's completely reasonable. If you've always been available, creating distance may feel harsh even when it's necessary. Your emotions may push back against the new standard because they're used to the old one. This is why you must learn to watch behavior rather than listen to promises. People can claim they respect you while continuing to violate your boundaries. They can apologize over and over without ever changing their behavior. They can promise things will be different and then slide right back into the same pattern. Listen to their words, but weigh them against their actions. A genuine apology eventually leads to different behavior. Without change, an apology can turn into just another cycle. At the same time, don't grow so guarded that you cut yourself off from everyone. Relentlessness doesn't mean shutting the world out. It means becoming selective. There are people who deserve your trust, people who fuel your growth, people who tell you the truth without trying to control you, and people who honor your boundaries even when they disagree with them. Those relationships shouldn't be destroyed just because others have hurt you. The goal isn't to trust no one. The goal is to trust wisely. You should also stop believing every relationship has to be rescued. Some relationships reach their natural conclusion. Some friendships turn toxic. Some connections belong to an earlier chapter of your life. Some people mattered to you once, but no longer fit the direction you're heading. Ending a relationship doesn't automatically make you disloyal. Sometimes it means you've finally recognized that hanging on costs more than letting go. And when you walk away, don't turn it into revenge. You don't need to humiliate someone. You don't need to expose them. You don't need to make sure they regret losing access to you. The strongest boundary is often the quietest. You simply remove yourself from the situation and keep building your life. Revenge keeps you emotionally tethered to the person you claim to have left behind. Peace calls for something else entirely. Indifference to their reaction. Your time is yours. Your attention is yours. Your energy is yours. Your trust should be earned. Your presence shouldn't be treated as a bottomless resource. The world becomes far less able to break you once you stop letting every person reach the most vulnerable parts of you. Become relentless about your access, your boundaries, and your energy. Not because you hate people, but because you finally understand that guarding your peace is part of guarding your future. And once you decide who earns access to you, the next challenge is learning how to stay calm when those people or the world itself try to provoke you. The world will eventually put your emotional control to the test. It may come through disrespect, rejection, betrayal, criticism, failure, or the sudden change in someone you trusted. You can build boundaries and grow selective about who gets access to your life. But if every provocation can hijack your emotions, you're still exposed. A person doesn't need physical power over you to sway you. Sometimes all it takes is the ability to make you angry, afraid, insecure, or desperate enough to act without thinking. This is why emotional control is one of the deepest forms of relentlessness. You must become relentless about what you let your emotions decide. Emotions are useful sources of information, but terrible rulers. Anger might tell you a boundary was crossed. Fear might warn you something needs attention. Disappointment might reveal your expectations were misplaced. But information isn't instruction. Feeling something doesn't mean you have to act on it right away. This distinction separates reaction from strength. Picture someone deliberately insulting you in front of others. Your first urge might be to defend yourself instantly. raise your voice, or fire back something meant to wound them worse. In that moment, they've discovered something valuable. They can steer your behavior just by pressing the right emotional trigger. The insult may have lasted 5 seconds, but if you spend the next hour arguing, explaining, and replaying it in your head, they've taken far more from you than those 5 seconds. The relentless response isn't pretending it didn't affect you. It's refusing to surrender control just because it did. Pause, observe, then decide. Pause is where power resides. You don't have to answer every provocation. Some people deliberately stir up emotional chaos because they know emotional people are easier to manipulate. They say something offensive and wait for the reaction. They criticize you because they crave attention. They question your worth because they want you to defend yourself. They create conflict because your reaction gives them a feeling of control. If you react automatically, you play right into their strategy. If you stay composed, their strategy loses its reward. This doesn't mean tolerating serious disrespect or staying silent in every situation. Emotional control isn't weakness. You can confront someone without losing your composure. You can say calmly and directly, "Don't speak to me that way." You can walk out of a situation. You can enforce a boundary. You can make a hard call. The difference is that your action stems from judgment rather than an emotional explosion. Anger becomes valuable once it's converted into information. Instead of asking, how dare they do this to me? Ask, what does this behavior reveal? Instead of instantly planning revenge, ask, what response protects my interests? Instead of trying to prove you're not weak, ask, what action shows that I respect myself? These questions shift you from emotion into strategy. The same principle applies to fear. Fear often grows stronger when you flee from it. You dodge the conversation, delay the decision, stay in the familiar setting, and tell yourself you're protecting yourself. But every time you obey unnecessary fear, you strengthen the habit of avoidance. You must learn to sit with discomfort without immediately fleeing it. Your heart can pound while you stay calm. Your hands can tremble while you take action. Your mind can picture failure while you keep moving forward anyway. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the refusal to let fear make every decision for you. You also need emotional control when handling success. Praise can turn just as dangerous as criticism if you let it define your identity. If one compliment convinces you that you're superior and one insult convinces you that you're worthless, you're giving other people too much power over your self-image. Become internally grounded. Know who you are when no one is applauding. Know your standards when no one is watching. Know your direction when no one understands it. Then praise becomes enjoyable rather than necessary, and criticism becomes information rather than destruction. This emotional independence reshapes your relationships too. You stop demanding instant replies. You stop assuming silence means rejection. You stop spinning stories out of incomplete information. You stop making permanent decisions during temporary emotional states. Sometimes the wisest move is to sleep on a decision. Wait until anger fades. Wait until fear grows clearer. Wait until disappointment quiets down, then decide. Many people wreck opportunities because they respond to temporary emotions with permanent actions. They send the message they later regret. They end the relationship in anger. They quit over one bad day. They attack someone because their ego was bruised. Then, once the emotion fades, they're left with consequences that stay. Don't grant a temporary emotion permanent authority. Your emotional world belongs to you. You can feel deeply without letting what you feel control you. You can be angry without becoming destructive. You can be disappointed without turning bitter. You can be afraid without being paralyzed. You can be hurt without letting pain shape your future. That is genuine relentlessness. Not becoming emotionless, but becoming hard to manipulate through emotion. When the world discovers it cannot easily provoke you, pressure you, frighten you, or drag you into needless conflict, something shifts. You become harder to control because your decisions spring from thought rather than impulse. And once you learn to control your reactions, the next step is learning to turn the pain life hands you into strength, instead of letting it become your identity. Pain is unavoidable. At some point, the world will take something from you that you believed you could keep. Someone will let you down. Someone you trusted may betray you. A plan you worked for may fall apart. You may lose an opportunity, a relationship, a position, or a version of yourself you thought would last forever. The instinct is to ask why this happened to you. But there's a more powerful question. What will you become because it happened? This is where the split between being wounded and becoming stronger begins. Pain can destroy you when you turn it into your identity. You start saying, people can't be trusted because I was betrayed. I'll never love again because someone hurt me. I can't succeed because I failed. I can't take risks because the last risk ruined me. Slowly, one painful experience becomes a rule governing your whole future. You're no longer responding to what happened. You're letting what happened decide what's possible. Don't grant the past that authority. Be relentless about the meaning you assign to your pain. You can't always choose what happens to you, but you can choose what you take from it. If someone betrays you, learn to spot the signs you overlooked. If you fail, examine the weak points in your preparation. If someone disrespects you, discover where your boundary fell short. If an opportunity disappears, ask what skill you need to build before the next one shows up. Pain becomes useful the moment you study it. This doesn't mean pretending suffering doesn't hurt. Strength isn't denial. If something breaks your heart, let yourself feel it. If you lose someone who mattered, grieve. If you fail at something that meant a great deal, acknowledge the disappointment. You don't become stronger by pretending you're unaffected. You become stronger by refusing to stay permanently controlled by what affected you. There's a difference between experiencing pain and handing your identity over to it. Some people spend years retelling the same story about what someone did to them. Every conversation circles back to the betrayal, the rejection, the humiliation, the unfairness. They believe they're working through the experience, but sometimes they're simply keeping the wound open. The event happened once. They replay it internally thousands of times. At some point, you must decide the lesson matters more than the resentment. Ask yourself what the experience taught you about people, about yourself, and about reality. Maybe you learned you trusted too fast. Maybe you discovered your boundaries were too soft. Maybe you realized you ignored warning signs because you badly wanted something to work out. Maybe you learned you were leaning too heavily on another person for your happiness. These discoveries hurt, but they're valuable because now you know. And what you know can protect you. Don't let betrayal make you incapable of trusting anyone. Let it make you more discerning. Don't let rejection make you afraid of connection. Let it teach you that not every connection is built to last. Don't let failure make you afraid to try again. Let it push you to prepare better. Don't let criticism wreck your confidence. Let useful criticism show you where to improve. This is what turning pain into strength actually means. You take the experience, extract the lesson, and leave the unnecessary suffering behind. There's another kind of pain you must face, the pain of growth. Sometimes becoming stronger requires disappointing people who benefited from your weakness. Sometimes you must say no when everyone expects yes. Sometimes you must leave a familiar setting. Sometimes you must work while no one understands what you're building. Sometimes you must trade comfort today for a future that doesn't exist yet. That pain is different. It isn't destroying you. It's demanding that you evolve. Don't mistake temporary discomfort for proof you're making the wrong call. Growth often feels uncomfortable because the old version of you is losing its grip. Your habits resist change. Your mind prefers the familiar. Your surroundings may pull you back toward who you used to be. Stay with the discomfort long enough to find out who you can become. And never take pride in suffering for its own sake. The goal isn't to collect pain. The goal is to grow wiser from what you survived. A person who has suffered but learned nothing can turn bitter. A person who has suffered and pulled out wisdom becomes hard to manipulate. They spot patterns faster. They choose people more carefully. They recover from setbacks more intelligently. They stop repeating the same mistakes, just because those mistakes feel familiar. That is the kind of relentlessness you need. Not a heart of stone, but a mind that refuses to waste suffering. The world may hurt you. It may disappoint you. It may take things you desperately wanted to hold on to, but it doesn't get the final say. Your response does. Let pain teach you. Let experience sharpen you. And let every hard chapter make you more capable of protecting the future you still have time to build. And once you learn to turn pain into strength, the final question becomes whether you're willing to choose your future over the comfort that keeps you weak.